My name is Elias Monroe. I'm 32 years old, an artist by heart and by trade. Painting isn't just something I do, it's who I am. Each brushstroke holds a piece of my soul, every color a story I'm desperate to tell. For years, my art was my sanctuary, the one place where I felt truly free. When I met Celeste, I thought I had found someone who understood that. She was more than just my wife. She was my biggest supporter, or so I thought. At every gallery opening, every small art show, she was there, clapping louder than anyone else, whispering words of encouragement. She told me she believed in me, in my dream. "I'm here for you, Elias," she said one evening as I stayed late in my studio, covered in paint and sweat. "Your art deserves to be seen." I smiled, heart full of hope. "Thanks, Celeste. That means everything." But it didn't take long for that hope to crack. One day, I noticed a canvas missing from the corner of my studio, Sunset Reverie, a piece I had poured weeks of late nights and early mornings into. At first, I thought maybe she took it to show a friend or family member. But then, more paintings disappeared. I asked her, "Celeste, where are my paintings?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but inside, panic was rising. She avoided my eyes. "I sold a few, Elias. You remember, we talked about this, right? It was for exposure, and we needed the money." My hands clenched into fists. "Sold them? Without telling me?" She shrugged. "I thought you'd understand. It's business." I shook my head in disbelief. My art isn't just some merchandise to sell on a whim. It's my life, my story. Celeste rolled her eyes, her voice cold. "You're too sensitive. You've got to be practical sometimes." It felt like a dagger to the heart. Weeks later, I got a call that crushed what little hope I had left. "Is this Elias Monroe?" "Yes. Your painting Midnight Silence just sold to a collector overseas. Your wife handled the sale." The words hit me like a freight train. Sold without my knowledge, without my permission. I confronted her that night. "Why didn't you tell me? Why would you sell my work behind my back?" Celeste's reply was bitter, almost mocking. "Because you weren't going to make it without me. I had to take care of things." I felt the ground shift beneath me. The woman I loved, my partner in life, had betrayed me in the worst way. It wasn't just about money, it was the violation of trust. A few days later, my best friend Marco came by the studio. "You look broken, Elias." "I don't know what to do." Celeste sold my art, everything I worked for. Marco shook his head. "That's not support, man. That's betrayal." I sat in the silence of my empty studio, surrounded by blank walls where my paintings once hung. It was clear, this was bigger than just art. It was about reclaiming my identity in my life. And I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. After days of stewing in silence, I knew I couldn't avoid it any longer. I had to face Celeste, to demand answers, to get some kind of closure. Or at least confrontation. One late afternoon, I found her in the living room scrolling on her phone, completely indifferent to the storm inside me. I took a deep breath. "Celeste, we need to talk. Now." She looked up, surprised but not really concerned. "About what?" I clenched my fists. "About the paintings you sold. Without telling me. Without even a word." She shrugged like it was no big deal. "I already told you, Elias. You should be thanking me." "Thanking you?" I echoed, my voice cracking. "How am I supposed to thank you for selling the pieces that mean everything to me? The ones I was working on for months, the ones you promised you'd never touch?" Her eyes narrowed. "Look, you're always so wrapped up in your art that you forget the bills have to be paid." I kept the lights on. I put food on the table. "You were too busy painting your little dreams to notice." "I noticed plenty, I said bitterly. Like how you can take my work and sell it behind my back? How you can decide the fate of everything we built without even telling me? Celeste stood up, voice cold. I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to survive. You're the dreamer, I'm the realist. I swallowed hard, feeling the walls close in. You sold the house too, didn't you? She smirked, crossing her arms. Yes. And it's already under offer. There's no going back. That hit me like a punch to the gut. How could you? I whispered. Our home, my sanctuary, gone without so much as a conversation? Celeste's expression softened just for a moment, almost like pity. You should have been grateful. But I guess you only care about your paintings. I care about more than just paintings, I said, voice thick with emotion. I cared about us. She shook her head, looking away. Us is over. I stood there, stunned, feeling like I was watching myself from outside my body. My studio, my haven, was gone, emptied out while I wasn't looking. The very walls that once echoed with the sound of my brushes had been stripped bare. I wandered into the studio one last time, running my fingers over the empty shelves, the bare floors. The silence was deafening. On the kitchen table, I found a small folded note, her handwriting neat, precise, like everything else she controlled. The house is on the market. It's already under offer. I did what I had to do. Don't wait for me. I sank into a chair, clutching the note like a lifeline. The betrayal cut deep, sharper than any blade. I felt lost. Angry. Broken. But beneath it all, a slow burning fire began to kindle. I wasn't Elias Monroe, 32-year-old artist, just some guy who'd been robbed of his work in his home. I was a man who had been pushed to the edge. And now? I was ready. I vanished from Celeste's life like smoke, quiet, unnoticed, and untraceable. I didn't want a scene, didn't want the drama of yelling or tears. I just needed to disappear, to step out of the storm she'd created around me. For years, I'd poured my heart and soul into my paintings. Each canvas was a piece of me, raw and unfiltered. And all the while, I believed Celeste was my biggest fan, my partner in every sense. But the truth was darker. She was selling off my dreams behind my back, painting her own version of success using my work as currency. When the house was sold, and my studio emptied, I felt like everything I'd built was ripped away. But I wasn't ready to be broken. I called Oliver, my oldest friend, and the only one I trusted with this mess. We met in his cramped office the day after the house sale went through. Elias, he said without preamble, sliding a thick folder across the desk, this isn't just about broken trust. This is fraud. Misappropriation. We can fight this. But we need evidence, concrete proof. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of it all. I want everything. All the contracts Celeste signed without me. Every sale she made behind my back. I want to know exactly where every piece of my art ended up. Oliver nodded, a steady calm in his voice. I'll start tracking down the paper trails. Galleries, buyers, auction houses, no stone will be left unturned. Days turned into weeks. While Oliver hunted for legal leverage, I found another kind of strength with Rhea, a brilliant artist I met at a gallery a few months back. Her fiery passion and sharp mind were the antidote to my despair. One night, as we sat surrounded by canvases and paint tubes, she looked at me and said, "You're not just rebuilding art, Elias. You're reclaiming your story. Your voice. Let's make something that can't be ignored." Her words ignited a spark. Together, we began creating a new series, raw, emotional, unapologetic. Each stroke a testament to resilience, each color a symbol of defiance. This wasn't just art, it was my redemption. Meanwhile, Oliver delivered updates almost daily. I found inconsistencies in Celeste's contracts. Some signatures look forged. A few sales weren't authorized by you at all. Every piece of evidence he uncovered was a small victory. I compiled everything meticulously: receipts, emails, witness statements. Each was a weapon to reclaim what was rightfully mine. One evening, as I sat alone in my new studio space, I felt a strange calm. The rage that had burned so fiercely was now tempered by purpose. I wasn't just fighting to get my art back. I was fighting for my dignity, my future, my life. Celeste thought she'd silence me, erase me from her narrative. But behind the scenes, I was framing my comeback, quiet, methodical, unstoppable. I whispered to myself, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. And with every brushstroke, every piece of evidence, I moved closer to the day when my silence would speak louder than her lies ever could. Celeste was thriving, or so it seemed. She posted photos from rooftop dinners, sipped champagne in rented designer gowns, and filled her days with gallery openings and yacht invitations. To the outside world, she was the face of elegance, the woman who turned her husband's art into a fortune. No one questioned the story she'd spun, because no one knew the truth. Except me. And Oliver. You're absolutely sure this will hold up? I asked one morning, leaning over the heavy stack of legal papers he'd placed on my desk. Oliver adjusted his glasses and smiled. Elias, you still own the studio property. The house was purchased using profits from your work. She never registered joint ownership. She assumed, she didn't check. So the sale is legal? Completely. The paperwork's been processed, the buyer's in place. In 72 hours, it's no longer a problem. Or yours. I stared at the document. My name, Elias Monroe, age 32, was printed cleanly under the title sole proprietor. For the first time in over a year, I felt weightless. Not because I had taken something back, but because I'd finally let something go. 3 days later, the knock on Celeste's door was not champagne or Chanel. It was a notice of eviction. She called me 6 times in 2 hours. Left voicemails. Texts. Emails. I didn't read any of them. She tried calling Oliver next. He picked up. Elias sold the house, she barked. Oliver's voice was even. He did. But he can't, he could. And he did. I suggest you vacate the premises before legal action begins. While Celeste packed what little she had left into boxes, my own plan was unfolding across the city in silence. Rhea stood beside me as we watched the last piece of my new series being mounted in the downtown exhibit hall. The collection was titled Canvas of the Unspoken. Each piece told a story. Not just of betrayal, but of quiet endurance. One painting, a woman with her back turned, slicing through a canvas with golden scissors, hung in the center. Another showed a faceless figure standing in the rain, clutching ashes in his hands while a mansion burned behind him. And one, my favorite, was just a single eye staring through a keyhole as a shadow figure walked away in the background. They're going to ask, Rhea whispered, who it's all about. I'll let them guess. The gallery filled faster than expected. Critics called it hauntingly honest, a gut punch of color, art born from silence. A woman approached me during the second day of the show. Her voice was soft. You've never spoken about what happened between you two. Why not? I looked at her, then at the painting behind me. Because some stories, I said, are louder when you don't explain them. Celeste would see the reviews. The headlines. The sold-out collection. She would recognize the metaphors hidden in each canvas, see the mirror I'd held up to her actions. But there would be no names. No direct accusations. Only art. And silence. The kind of silence that echoes louder than rage ever could. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. When the final piece of canvas of the unspoken sold at auction for 6 figures, I didn't feel victorious. I felt, still, like someone who had finally put a heavy story down and walked away from the weight of it. The gallery owner shook my hand and whispered, this was more than art. It was a reckoning. But I already knew that. With the earnings, I started something new, the Cart Foundation. Named in quiet honor of my late mother's maiden name, it became a haven for young, underrepresented artists. A place where they could create without compromise. No stolen credits. No manipulative partners. Just raw, honest work. The kind that bleeds truth. Rhea became its first resident curator. Oliver helped structure the grants and legal protections. For the first time in years, the people around me weren't trying to use me, they were trying to build with me. Then, one rainy afternoon, she showed up. Celeste. Hair damp, clothes too fine for the weather, clutching a faded umbrella like it might shield her from what was coming. She stepped into the gallery, eyes scanning the walls until they landed on me. I was adjusting a frame, barefoot on a ladder, fixing a crooked piece by a young sculptor from Morocco. I just want to talk, she said. I didn't look down. We talked. When you signed my work away. When you cleared out my studio. When you listed my house like it was yours to sell. She took a shaky breath. You made me lose everything. I climbed down the ladder. Faced her. Calm. No. You made you lose everything. I just stopped letting you take more. Celeste blinked, as if the words stung more than she expected. I loved you, Elias. I believed in you. I tilted my head. No, you believed in what I could give you. A silence hung between us. Not cruel. Just final. I have nothing left, she whispered. I nodded. And I have peace. So I guess we're even. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else, but I had already turned. As I stepped through the main gallery doors, the wall behind me flickered softly with a glowing inscription, lit in soft gold against the charcoal paint. It read. I didn't yell. I painted. Celeste stood alone in the doorway as the lights dimmed and the gallery doors clicked shut behind me. The quiet had never sounded so good. And for the first time in a long, long time, I was finally free.